Welcome back to Livie's Lovelies, your inspirational craft channel, and I'm your host, Fam the Fabulous. For more ideas, inspiration, swaps, and challenges, click the link in the description below to join our craft community, the Maker Exchange, on Facebook. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, all my artists, creatives, crafters, and makers. Welcome back to the Lovely Lab. Now, listen, last week we started working on our fall-themed mini journals. I used the Autumn's Breeze kit, which is available in my Etsy shop, and it's a part of the collaboration between myself, Sonya of Artsy Solutions, THELISHA of Where Crafting Meets, aka the Crafty Trinity, and all of our kits are available down in the description box. Now, you don't need to use those kits. You're more than welcome to get them, but I'm sure you got plenty of fall themed things on hand. Now, nevertheless, so last week we worked on this one. My intentions was for this to be a 2-video creation, but it looks like we're going to need 3. Okay, so today we are going to continue moving on. I did continue working on this one off camera, which I showed in the beginning, or showed in the last video, and I'll just walk you through some of the things that I completed. So I created the cover plate, which lays on top of the closure, and the cover plate is made out of some cardboard, some recyclable cardboard. I wrapped that in one of the printables, one of the pages from my kit, actually from the add-on kit that's now available in the Etsy shop. I used some of the ephemera from our kits, some book page stitched around it. I think that's a sticker from the Dollar Tree. And then this closure, just a simple little closure, nice and shabby, is an old curtain from like before my Josh was born. Okay, so it's over 11 years old. Anyways, so I placed the closure underneath that and glued this in place, and then turned it over, placed a heavy book on top of it just so that the glue could seep into the fabric and stay put. The other things that I've done is added a pocket here. Okay, we've got a folder that will be stitched in along with this signature here. Okay, we have a little folder with 2 pockets, and then we have the signature itself. And the page, these 2 need to be stitched in. And then lastly, we have a notepad, and that's just some scrap papers that I had left over from kits and so on and so forth. And so if you notice, this paper here is what I used to cover the notepad. So I think today we'll work on making the cover plate, and if we have time, we'll make the notepad. And the last video we'll go ahead and bring it all together and complete it. So I'm going to stop right here, give you guys an opportunity to go and get your supplies, and come on back so we can continue on making our fall themed mini journals. Now listen, if you're watching this and it's the spring, then just supplement the fall elements and ephemera with spring or summer or Christmas or whatever. Well, all in all, we're just making a mini journal. Okay, so that being said, take a minute, grab those supplies, and come on back. All right, so first thing we're going to go ahead and do is make the signature folder, or the folder which is going to be used, sewn in as a signature. All right, so what I did was I took some double-sided cardstock and made pockets. I basically folded a piece of paper in half, cut off the end top, the top, and cut it down so that it would be pockets, and attached it with glue, and then stitched them in place to secure them. So what I'm going to do is I have some double-sided cardstock. Now here's the thing, because it's double-sided, but there's text here, handwritten text, right? If I went to use it on the opposite side and fold this up, because that's actually what I'm going to do, the text would be upside down. So I'm just opting to use the opposite side. This will be the inside, and when I flip this up, that's what we'll get for the pockets. So what I need to do now is go ahead and cut this down so that it will fit into the journal. All right, so actually let me go this way. This is the simple part, you know. So I have a piece of scrap there, and then I don't need to cut that part because, well, yeah. But I do need to score this. So let's see, where is the middle point? Middle point is, oh gosh, I can't even see. The middle point is 4 3/4. All right, so I found the middle point. It's not always easy to do when you've got glares and so on and so forth. All right. Let's go ahead and score this. Okay, that is enough of a score for me to go ahead and wait a minute. That does not seem even. Well, this folder is going to have to be a little thinner than the other one because I'm not rescoring it. It's only a tiny bit little smaller. So I'm actually going to have to cut off that extra point. I knew that seam was not going to be accurate. But it's perfectly fine. All right. Oh, that's a cute little strip. All right, so what we need to do now is simply fold up. I'm just going ahead and create a scored effect here. All right, so we want to score it from, I think I can get this part right. I think so. Yeah, so we'll score from there. Now, one thing I will tell you is you don't want to keep it like this because it's too much bulk in the center. You're going to need to so this is how it's going to go. This is the center. So what you do is you take this and you cut okay, and now you have okay, pretty simple. Now these ones had rounded edges, and it's perfectly fine that this one doesn't have it. I'm going to notch that out just a little bit more so that it's all the way down to the bottom, which will make it easier to close. All right. Which way are we going? All right, there we go. So we've got inside of here, we've got the signature that needs to be sewn in. I'm going to go ahead and glue these down and then stitch the edges. Although this one is actually like this. So we got that, we got there. And then lastly, we have in the back. Now remember, this is the signature for you. This is the inside of that one. This is the cover for that one because I simply just used the scraps. You know what I mean? So we'll do the same here. Okay? So this is the scrap that's left over from that side piece. Side piece. All right, so what I did with this one was when I created this, this actually can be slid out. Okay? Make your own or whatever. There's a little piece in the back. So we're just going to use the same format. I've got about Drop it a little bit. We still have a piece of scrap right there. Waste not, want not. And then we also have, let's see. I could always measure. You know, I could always be as approximate and exact as I need to be. Here we go. Go on here. But what's the fun in that? What is the fun in that? Let me bring that over a little bit. Okay, I think we're good there. Might have to cut off a little bit extra, but more is always better because you can take away, you can't add to. Okay, so we've got that, and now I need to cut out some cardboard. I think that's what I use. Let's see. Was there any special kind of cardboard that I use? No. All right, so I'm going to use the rest of this. Use my guillotine. So this is 3 and a little bit over 3.5. So let me go ahead and 3.5. It's a little over 3.5. I'm still going to have to cut that other opposite edge. So let me cut this one like this. There we go. I think that should work. Let me close that. All right. Yep. That should be fine. All right. And so I'm going to have to cover the back so that no one sees that uncuteness. See if I've got any scrap paper. But before I do that, let me cut the rest of the side down. My goodness. Get ahead of myself here. All right. So make sure we fit. That's a good size. All right, I found a scrap from last year's kit. Oh, here we go. Actually, that's going to be a piece of one of the pages. So let me just see what I have here. All right, just using up last year's kit to cover this side because no one needs to see that. No one at all. All right. And this is some, should have gessoed this first, but I ain't got time for all of that. So I'm going to use Eileen's tacky glue. And you use whatever glue you have based on whatever cardstock or cardboard you're using. Okay? So I'm just going to because what's on the opposite side, it doesn't really matter. It's just the last piece, but I don't want that Ritz paper cardboard showing. It's not that cute. It doesn't even coordinate. All right, so I'm just going to cut the edges off. And then once I'm done cutting off the edges, then we'll move on to assembling the notepad out of scrap paper. So if you've already got this part done, feel free to grab your scraps so we can move on relatively quickly. So next what we do is we just grab whatever scraps we have around, and they don't have to be, I guess I could have cut, probably should have measured that. You want to make sure that they fit obviously on the pad of it. So it just needs to be a little bit smaller. I'm going to go, see, I'm cutting off. You know what, let me go ahead and take all of that off. And then I'll just use that in something else. And I'll take this down like so, because they don't all have to be the same length. Those pages in this little notepad don't all have to be the same length. In the one that I have, that I showed you, they are staggered. So you can take the time and do it like that, or you can have them all the same length. It's totally up to you. Okay, so I'll be back once I have all my papers. All right, so now I have all of the papers prepared. So what I want to do now is go ahead and take this and wrap it around the back so that I can glue it in place. Now remember, I did say that there's a good chance that this would be wider, but I don't think I need to cut it down. So let me go ahead and fold that back there. And that is how that will be glued. Is that? I need a little bit more space than that. There we go. Let me go ahead and okay. Okay. Push that down. All right, so what I want to do here is staple this to this. I put these in place because I put these paper clips in here so that I could keep it straight while I cut off the top, because I wanted it to the base of it to show just a little bit. Not a big deal, guys, not a big deal. So I'm going to staple it to this first so that when I put this on, it will cover up the staples in the back, and then I will put a small band of something up front. Who knows what it'll look like? I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead and staple that. Make sure everything is lined up properly. Nothing is off center. Take this paper clip out of here, because things do shift and shimmy when you least need it to. You can use binder clips too, whatever you got. All right, so just a bit. It's best that you put it flat down like this. Okay, and then make sure you turn it over to the back. If there's anything that's sticking up that could make this unsafe, go ahead and press it down. And I just use something like the back of my scissors to press them in place, press them down, make them flat as best as possible. The cardstock is going to go over the front, so it's not a big deal, but you just want to make sure that you take the necessary precautionary step, especially if this is going to be a gift for someone. You never know how they'll use it. All right, so that is in place. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and glue the back on. Yeah. I would strongly suggest using your thickest tape, because remember, this is going to, I'll show you how I put a little slot down. Not your thickest tape, your thickest glue, excuse me, to hold it in place. I'll show you what I created on the other journal. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. And I do have a binder clip. Oh, that's great. All right, so I'll put that there like that. But on the other journal, what I did was I made a little slot for that to slide into, just using some cardstock. In the event that they wanted to replace it, put another one in, slide it in and out. And so it just makes it more of a journal cover that you can use for a long period of time, even after this notepad is filled up. All right, so put that back there. And these go in here as well. All right, next step, while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and sew these in place. And I'm not going to decorate this particular journal on camera because, come on, y'all know how to decorate. You know, listen, so while I am attempting to pull out my my sewing machine, which is on the other side of the room, I'm gonna have to cut some of these pages down. Go ahead and put in the comments if you guys are working on a journal. If you are working on a journal, what are you using a specific kit? If are you using our kit? Don't be shy if you aren't using my kit. It's perfectly all right. It's not for everybody. Well, it is. It's made for everybody, but it's, you know. Anyways, or if you are pulling ephemera and elements and pages to put together to use in here, so drop in the comments and let me know what you are using to create your journals with. This is going to have lace down the side, so I'm not going to do that on camera, but wait a minute, something feels like it's upside down. It is upside down. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out the sewing machine and go ahead and get this together. I'll be right back. All right, so ran a little single stitch around the edge of that. Sometimes I do a zigzag stitch, but you know, if the pattern is busy already, you know, sometimes less is more, you know. All right, so those are lying flat. That looks good. All right, so we've gotten that. Okay, we've got that. We're waiting for the binder, for the notepad to dry. Okay, I think that's dried fairly well. So what we will do now is cover up the staple here with just a little strip of something, just something a little cute, you know. All right, and then we will put something in here, some cardstock in here to keep that sitting pretty. Real simple stuff, y'all. This is not rocket science. This is not any of the things that you need to do thorough research for. So don't worry your pretty little minds. I want to use it like that. I need to cut that down a little bit. It's a bit intrusive. Yeah. Okay, that works for me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and glue that in. Right on top of those staples. Make them less visible. Okay. All right, so slide that up a bit and cut the excess off. And this part will be done. We just need to focus on something to keep it in place. So this isn't long enough. Let me see if I've got some other type of cardstock, scrap cardstock. I do. Just need to find it. I got plenty of unattractive cardstock. Let me say that. Say it with me. Unattractive cardstock. Okay, that ain't it. I'll use this one. So just cut off a little bit. And I said that I wasn't going to decorate here on this video, but I think, yeah, no, I'm not going to decorate. I'm not going to decorate. What I do want to make sure that I do is go ahead and sew the signatures in. I'm not going to do it on this one. I'm going to do it on the other one because I know that everything will be dry at that point for that anyways. All right, so I want a band about, I'm not using that side, I'm actually going to use this side, about that thick. That's all that's necessary, and I'll use the other scrap for something else because I'm so cheap. Excuse me, frugal. All right, so here's what we've got to get going here. Just slide this under here. Make sure that it's even in some form, because sometimes it's not always, you know, it's not automatically going to be even. So don't make the mistake of thinking that when you slide it back here, it's just gonna come straight up and be fine. No, double check. Double check, my friend. Because if it doesn't come all the way up and it's lopsided just simply because of where the staples are at, then these will be off, and it'll sit slanted inside the notepad, inside the journal. So okay, so now I'm just going to put a little glue back here and here. Flip this little baby over, and I'm going to position this where I want it inside of the journal, making sure that when the journal goes to close, that this is not creating any interference. So make sure that you slide it out, check to make sure that everything lines up and that there's no interference. As you can see right there, there's space there, but I need to go ahead and press this in place. Where's that binder clip when I need it? It's probably, oh, here we go. Let's see if it's long enough. It's not. Barely. I'm just going to put a book on top of this, move it off to the side. Is create the cover plate for here. Now, I will tell you this. One thing I've learned is to put that thing on very last, because you never know what you're going to add to or subtract from the journal, and you don't want that on obstructing what you're trying to work with. So we're gonna create it, and that will be the last thing that you'll add to your journal. Okay. So again, just using some everyday cardstock or cardboard from around the home, you know, you can go ahead and more or less mark off where you want this, how large you want this. So we want it here. Well, actually, I want it in a little bit closer. There. And I want it to stop about here. Okay. I'm going to grab the and then cutting here. Make sure that's straight. It usually isn't, because then I forget to hold down this part. All right, there we go. Cut off this little piece here. All right, I know I'm doing a little bit of shaking and shimmying here, but we'll be all right. All right, so what you want to do is you want to use some type of a, well, you just use whatever you want, really, to cover it. But I'm going to show you what I did, and then you can move on from there. So pick out some type of pattern paper, or maybe even coffee dyed paper. It's totally up to you. It is totally up to you. All right, so what I'm going to be using is this scrap piece of paper, okay? So I am just going to cut out a large enough piece that I can get a ½ inch around all of the sides so that I can wrap it to the back. All right, that's all you want. It's enough to wrap it to the back. I gotta cut that off. Let's see. All right, and so from here, all you want to do, put that off in the scrap bin, is get yourself some glue. Now I'm using cardstock on this one, but if I was using thinner glue, then I would spread that out. If I was using thinner paper, excuse me. Okay, so we have that there, and I always move it just a little bit just so it can spread on the cardboard. All right, so we're going to go ahead and crease the edges once this is burnished. Let's go ahead and burnish that so it can sit tight and not slide around when we're trying to fold the sides. Okay. Reason we're doing that is just so that it makes it easier for us to fold it in when we're trying to glue. So now listen, you need to miter those corners. leaving at least 1/8 of an inch. If you don't need it, you'll know when it's time for you to fold it down, like so. In this case, we needed it. Well, almost. That's a little bit too much right there. You just don't want the cardboard showing. So start off with more and then inch your way down. All right, now from here, I'm just going to take the glue, run a bead of it along here, folding one side, then the opposite in, and burnishing it so that it stays down. And this is one of the reasons why we fold first, so that that cardboard can kind of get trained into sitting still, kind of like kids at church. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just pop them into church on a Sunday and expect for them to sit still for 2 hours and listen. So once you have those two down, you go on ahead and do the opposite sides. This is not a difficult task. If it was, I'd likely not be doing it. Jesus, Lord help us all. Okay, so once you have that down, and it's a little bit messy, make sure you have some type of paper towel or wipe by your side. Once you have all 4 sides folded in, you can flip it over, decorate it, and after you're done decorating it, you can add your ribbon or your fabric for the tie. Okay, so that's what we have. Now I want to make sure you guys are aware that if you have a pattern, some type of pattern paper that you're using, make sure that you are mindful of which way the pattern goes, and also whether or not it has some type of symmetry so that it doesn't look off skewed. However, you may want it off skewed, that's just up to you, but just be mindful of what the pattern is on there so it doesn't look off. All right, so once you have that there, you just go on ahead and embellish. So give me just a second, I'm gonna pull out my embellishment. All right, so I usually keep all my scrappy bits together in one place until I'm done, and then in which case it just goes into the big bin of all of the things. All right, so I went on ahead and stitched around this with a zigzag stitch, and so I'm going to look through and see what bits and pieces I might be able to use on here. It'd be nice to have some fall coloring. Let's see. It's, okay. And let me look for the ephemera. I'm just pulling out pieces that might work. Okay. Not that it will, not that it should, that it's possible. We don't know. That's not going to work. That could. No, we're going to not use that. All right, so I'm just pulling out some pieces of paper just for layering, collaging, whatever you want to call it. Here's the sticker that I used in the last set. And then here is the ephemera from both Lee's kits. And mine is in here, but I'm probably not going to use it. I'm not sure. Okay. So, let's see. This is mine. I just embossed that some years ago. Let's see, what else do we have here that could possibly be used? No, we're not going to use that. Let's see what ephemera. I've already fussy cut this stuff out, so it's just a matter of seeing which one is going to work with this. So we're doing this. We're doing that. So we're doing light, bright. I don't want to dim that down. Might as well go colorful. That might work. Let me see if I have any book page left. That's a nice piece of texture. That's not what I'm supposed to be in here looking for, but here we are. All right, so I have gone ahead and put the ephemera on the journal cover. Okay, I call it the cover plate, whatever you want to call it, but that step is done. So I just added the ephemera piece from THELISHA's kit, from SONYA's kit, just some random pieces that I had on hand, and some Tim Holtz stuff, some scrap paper, and there we have it. Then I went on ahead and glued this lace trim onto the back, and now I am going to go ahead and glue. Well, I had already started, and then I realized I didn't have the camera on. That's how you things just get away from you. But I'm using Eileen's Tacky Glue. I normally water this down in other containers, but I need for this to hold very well. So I am not going to be skimpy. I'm going to use it very generously, making sure that I get as close to the edge as possible. And I'm okay if it seeps over the edge because it's going into fabric. So it'll probably likely just slide right on into that fabric in between the threads. Okay. So again, this step, you want to make sure you have a really good amount and make sure that you have the edges of where that fabric or whatever it is that you're using is attached to your cover plate. And then bring your journal cover over, and flip it over. Make sure you have it the correct way. You don't want to put it on there upside down. And before I turn the camera back on, I did adjust this lace so that it wraps around and there's enough to tie it in actually in a bow. So make sure that you have enough before you start securing it to the journal cover, okay? And this is pretty much it for taking care of the journal cover itself. Now we'll move on to getting the rest of the inside done, including the folder and the sewing in of the signatures. Now I'm going to open this up, lay it flat upside down with the laptop on top of it and some books, okay? Well, my son's laptop is heavy enough, so I'll use his. And I'll be right back. Okay, so in order for us to get these signatures inside of our journal cover, what we want to do is create a template. So here's the easiest way that I found. I take a sheet of paper that is, cut it down so that it's longer than the journal, okay? It doesn't need to be super wide. Just make sure that it's at least a ½ inch longer than your journal from on top and bottom, all right? You take that, it can be about 6 inches wide. Take it, fold it in half because we need a center point, okay? Once we have it folded in half, we want to fold that in half like that. And then lastly, we'll fold it in half this way. Now from that, once you open it up, what you see is you have a center spine and you have 3 points. So you'll go ahead, mark here, and mark there. All right, you got 1, 2, 3, and they're all on the center points. So once you have your 3 holes, 3 markings there, you'll then take some type of a piercing tool, push through them because you're going to use that same piercing tool to create holes throughout your signature. Okay. Once you have your 3, you're going to take this, make sure you go ahead and line this up in your journal so that you know exactly where it's laying, okay? And then you want to go ahead and center your template in the center of your signature, and that will enable you to create some markings there based on where the holes are at. You can open it up, create your holes this way where you simply just push down in through the holes. But I find it easier to just open it up because you want to find that center hole and mark off your holes this way, okay? Once you have those holes in your signature, then you're kind of good to go. Not holes, but markings, excuse me. Once you have your markings, what you'll do, make sure that you protect your surface with some type of padding. You can look down here and see your markings. You'll take your piercing tool, lay it on top of your padded surface, push through. Once it's gone through the one side, you want to push through a little bit further so that it comes through, and you only need the hole to be wide enough for your needle, okay? So from there, you go ahead and you do the other 2 markings. Once you have that in place, then you're ready to put that into the signature. Now, I will say that in order for you to keep all your papers where you want them, you might want to use a binder clip, paper clips, whatever is will hold them in for all of the pages that you have. All right, so as you can see, I have paper clips here. I usually use binder clips, but this is a smaller signature. So once I have those holes there, okay, I can go ahead and transfer those markings, keeping in mind that there are 2 signatures that have to go in here, so it can't go directly in the center. I have to off center it. I can go ahead and transfer, and let me see if I can bring that in a little closer for you. Transfer, there's a hole here, I can mark a hole there, a hole here, I can mark a hole there, and then lastly the same thing down here. Now let me just show you what I'm talking about. Okay, and you can just transfer the next set of holes a couple of, half an inch or quarter of an inch over, just depending on how wide your signature is. I hope that I'm making this clear. I hope that makes sense. All right, so the next step would be to make sure you have those holes lined up for your next signature. I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle. And I think I'm going to go with black this time because I don't think I want to cover my spine. I'm going to go with black. Now, if I did not have a color that coordinated, then I would use whatever color I had and then just run some lace down the side. But I do have black and it coordinates very well. All right, so taking the tip of the thread, all right, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have thread that is at least 3 times as long as the journal. So I go 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then I'll cut off this end. Still more than what I need, but I know that I have enough. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle. You don't need to thread it doubled like you would if you were sewing. You just need to make sure you have enough on here so that if it pulls a little bit while you're stitching, it won't come out of the needle. All right, so from here, what we want to do is we want to go in through the center of the signature, all right, with the needle. Leaving a little bit here just to make sure that it doesn't slip through. All right. Now, actually, the last thing I forgot to mention was to go ahead and pierce through the holes in your journal. I kind of should have already said that. So I have a hole there. I need to put a hole here and a hole here. And I'll do the same for the other one. All 6 holes in there. So getting back to business, we're going to take our needle. We still have the thread hanging out here. Take the needle, go through the center hole, okay, and then, all right, pull that needle on through. These straps are a bit much. I should have waited till the last minute to put that cover on, but here we are. All right, so we have that there. Now we're going to go up to the top hole. Okay, now we have that coming back up through the top. And now we want to pull that through the top hole of the signature. Once you have that through the top hole of the signature, and I'll pull this a little bit more, then you go down to the bottom set of holes, and you run that on through. You pull that, and then you run that through the bottom hole of your journal, the journal hole. All right. Now, because this cover is fabric and the fabric is upholstery fabric, it's not the easiest to find that last hole, but here it is. What we're going to do is we're going to go right back through that. Okay. Okay, and so this is what we end up with. The needle is there. Once you have that needle back through that hole, you're going to bring it back through the hole in the center. Now, one thing you don't want to do is split your thread. And by splitting the thread, meaning you don't want to run it back through any of the thread that's in here, because it'll split it in half, just like I said. So I'm pulling that through. I'm going to thread that when we're done with that part. So once we have that there, you want both of your threads on both sides. So first things first is we want to tighten everything up. Okay. You don't want it so tight that you're tearing your papers. But what you don't want is any gapping like that. So pull everything tight. Okay, everything is sitting where it should. Okay, let me open it up. You're going to tie a knot in one direction, and whatever direction you tie that knot in, go in the opposite direction. So I know I probably went this way because that's what's natural. I'm going to go the opposite way, and prayerfully that will work. Now, I am no expert at this. I'm just showing you the method that I use day in and day out. Well, I don't do them that often. Actually, I probably do at least one journal a week. So you have the option of putting charms on here or cutting this short, tying a bow. That's up to you how you want to embellish or how you want to leave it. But at this stage, your signature is sewn in and you're good to go. You can go ahead and take your binder clips or your paper clips out, and you have that. And so you'll go ahead and put the last one in the same way. I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. All right, so we have both signatures in. Okay, this is what the outside looks like. Right, and they are tucked nicely in there, top and bottom. Nothing's hanging off to the side. And now I am free to close this baby up or embellish it to my heart's desire. Okay, so listen, if this is something that you're going to give a try, I'd like for you to hit the like button and drop in the comments a leaf emoji for the fall themed journal that we created today. I want to thank you all so much for watching, for liking, for subscribing, and for my continued supportive family, for those who have requested this video, for those who are following along. Roberta, this one was for you. Thanks so much for your support. I appreciate all that you guys do, and I thank you for being the inspiration behind some of my creativity. All right. And with that being said, guys, listen, until we're back here together on Patreon and YouTube, stay encouraged, stay blessed, stay creative and crafty. Bye for now. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Hit subscribe to join the crafty community, and be sure to click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Thank you so much for watching. Now stay tuned for more from Livie's Lovelies, your inspirational craft channel. Bye for now.